welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Pronex podcast. And I'm excited to welcome Carol to the program. Carol, thanks again for stopping by. I'm excited to learn more about uh, Pronex and how you got involved in it. But Carol Clark is our guest. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you became involved in obesity and chronic disease management?
Absolutely. First of all, Neil, thanks for having me on the show. I'm so honored to be here with you and also with Pronex. And I'm so excited because I've been in this arena for about over 20 years. I'm a nurse by trade, and I happen to be married to a bariatric surgeon. And so I started really in the hospital and then managing his practice, and everything just grew here in Virginia. And it happened that people wanted to mimic the model that we built. And so people came and they wanted to add in bariatric surgery, medical weight loss, nutrition, fitness, everything under one roof. And I just started my own practice called Weight Loss Practice Builder. And I thought, well, I'll help people do that. And I've been doing that for probably the past decade. And I got to know Pronex as an administrator for the practice and fell in love with the software, which has just continued to grow and blossom and explode over the years. And so for me, it's a natural to promote all that it does, because for your team, as someone who's been in the trenches for over 20 years, it's a game changer and it's so wonderful for your team and for your patients. So
It
that's what
makes
I've
complete
done.
sense because
Yeah,
any practice, and we're going to go into more what an EMR is and everything, and it's so much more than EMR at Pronex. You really learn specifically enough. This just pretty much how important when you have patients to track them for surgery. Are they on the right track once they have surgery? So all this. So what is Pronex and how does it serve the healthcare professionals in the field of obesity and chronic disease management?
sure. Pronex started out years ago as more of an electronic medical record, but truly the need was in patient tracking for bariatric surgery. So that was fully developed and fully created by Pronex, their own team. So they own the entire rights to it. They've created it, and and what it does from a wonderful standpoint is that it attracts the leads from a marketing perspective. All those go into this platform. And in bariatric surgery, you have to track lots of different criteria before they're eligible for surgery.
Mm.
And this puts everything in one place so that you can track it, you can communicate with your patients, you can educate them. Everything's HIPAA compliant. You can email them, you can text them. The patients love it because they have their little checklist of what they need to do before they're eligible for surgery. Everything gets checked off. It's real time between the practice and the patient. And you don't have to have all these different softwares that you're trying to keep up with in databases in order to track this. And it really streamlines. You and I are about simplification, but it streamlines that whole process from somebody being interested until the point where they have treatment. After that, this has really exploded and expanded into primary care and people who are doing medical weight loss, obesity medicine specialists. And actually, as of late, there is an entire arm that's fully developed for those that are in lifestyle medicine. So it encompasses it all. So from a practitioner standpoint, it's a very reasonable cost. Everything's in one location. You can track your patients, you can communicate with them, you can have your electronic medical record, you can take referrals through there. It's just, from somebody who consults with practices across the US, it's something that is just a breath of fresh air because it's all in one place and you don't have to, it just streamlines everything for you and for your patients. So, and if you don't want the electronic medical record part of it, they actually are interoperable with all the different EHRs that are out there. So it's really something that I've just found is easy to talk about, easy to promote to people because it makes them so happy and it makes their team happy. So that's really where it started and where it's exploded today. So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
No, it definitely seems really, really exciting. HIPAA compliance, that's important because guess what? You can't be doing all these things unless it's HIPAA compliant. So explain the HIPAA compliance part of Pronex.
Sure. The HIPAA compliance is really critical from the point that you get a lead on your website or wherever you're inputting them into the system. It has to be a method that is totally secure so that no one can access any aspect of that patient's demographic or history or medical history, anything, any aspect about that patient. So having something that is HIPAA compliant and it has to be certified as HIPAA compliant is something that's really important so that patients know that their healthcare information is secure and the practitioner knows that they are not open for any sort of issues down the road because they've compromised their patient's information.
Right, very interesting to understand that because other marketers are not HIPAA compliant. So we're adding a marketing component to Pronex, but Pronex is so much more than that because it takes and tracks that patient. Because you said it in bariatric patients, they have a certain once they put a lead on, then your practice is going to see are they even eligible for this surgery and what's
Right.
happening and all the process. And you have those electronic medical records and different things to track and reach out to them to when they're finally ready and making sure that your practice is the one that ends up doing the surgery.
You are 100% correct. And with the way people manage it without a software system like this, many of them have a spreadsheet, which I
Right.
used for years too until I discovered it, and it's something that you can track on a spreadsheet until you get to a certain volume of leads that are in there. And it's also not HIPAA compliant. You're doing communication via your email, and then they're calling the office, and everything's scattered. So your team doesn't really have a real-time picture of where the patient is in the process. And the patient doesn't either, which is something that's a dissatisfier. So this finally gives you a breath of fresh air because it's all in one place and your whole team has access to it. And so anyhow, you go from this like fragment.
It's crazy to hire any marketer except, and this is not a marketing tool, but it is a marketing tool, meaning to go ahead and do any work with Pronex because it puts all of it in one. You're now
Right.
having your lead source. You're almost like it's a CRM, but it's for more medical database CRM. All the things are taken care of, but it's HIPAA compliant. So you're not running into your marketers. They're running Facebook ads or doing other things that is not HIPAA compliant where you get shut down or ultimately get or not even and lose the patient because of certain reasons.
Right. And one other aspect of it is that the software is utilized by huge health systems out there that have multiple locations. So they may have 8 different locations. And from an administrative standpoint, you can have all of them there and you can actually get a dashboard where you can see the health and the progress for all your different practices. So from whether you're an independent practice and you just want that aspect for your practice, or whether you're a huge health system and you want to be able to track this for multiple locations, whether it's medical or surgical weight loss, it's it's there. It's being used every day by independent practitioners and large health systems alike. So that's something unique. From the other aspect, patient education is so important for these patients, and you have a whole platform in there where it gives them the education. You can communicate back and forth. You can do video. You can do written. And you can track that your patients are actually doing the education and interacting with them. So that's just the other aspect of it that I find really refreshing.
To be approved for bariatric surgery, you have to do certain things, right? So once your
Mhm.
surgery is over, better have a plan. So that's part of the education that Pronex gives.
Exactly. And you can either utilize whatever educational materials you've created, or I know I've created so many. We actually have an entire set of modules in there for medical and surgical weight loss. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, or it can be tweaked for what you want. So it's easy for a practitioner to use their own materials if they're created, their own videos, or utilize what we have already on the platform.
Wow. And this is just such a new area. So what are the challenges in obesity and chronic disease management? Especially
There,
when you're talking about physician surgeons facing managing these chronic diseases.
well, that's a great question. The industry is in a bit of a flux with the GLP-1 medications that are out there that everyone is seeking. So it is evolving, and bariatric surgery is definitely a core component of that. And but then also we're having to integrate comprehensive centers where you have medical weight loss at the same time you're having surgical weight loss of services available to your patients. So the challenges really are what's best for the patient, making sure that you have the right treatment modalities, all the tools that are out there for weight loss, you need to have those available. And it's a struggle just from the aspect of people gaining information in sometimes less. Especially if they have a lot of comorbidities or other health problems, being managed by a medical healthcare practitioner is really important. And as these treatment modalities are evolving and they may be available, they're not available, people are seeking surgery and medicines from, sometimes some suboptimal locations. we are in a state of flux, and we've got to be there in front of the patient, able to really take the best care of them so that they not only lose weight, but that they keep it off long term, because weight regain is a real risk for people. So especially with bariatric surgery, that first year after surgery is so important that they need to be changing their habits at the same time that they're massively losing this weight. And so the practitioner is really integral part of that. In addition, there are different MSQIP or different organizations through the ASMBS that tracks patient outcomes long term. And so we need to be able to track those data points and make sure that we're always improving our healthcare based on scientifically based data. So it all comes into play, and some of it's apparent to the patient, sometimes not, but it's all really important for the future of the healthcare industry, and also just being able to manage the constant changes that are happening in the healthcare industry, particularly weight loss right now.
100%. And that's why it's definitely something. Let's go to engaging in automating practices. You talked about it, how important that is. And I never thought of this when it comes to like the different things of the three arms that you guys are working with. Again, first of all, bariatric surgery practices, but then also you're looking at the physician side of it. And then also, adding the component of health lifestyle medicine, which a lot of doctors are using, not just one certain group of people. It's really important to look at these two areas because it looks like your practices that are not having surgery, they might go into using medical weight loss in another way. So it's kind of really tracking the patient to see which direction they're going to. Are they really going to go to bariatric, or are they gonna look more into the medical weight loss another way?
Right. And the other aspect of that is that there is a real thing out there right now with physician burnout and just the whole everything with that. Physicians are really pressed to see patients, do all the documentation, do all these things. And they don't have a lot of time in their day. So having a system that's very efficient and that that you can see patients' test results and communication, all that is really important. So from a physician's perspective, um, what they use in their practice and what they have to support them in their practice can make the difference between having an enjoyable experience for themselves, their team, and the patient, or really having something that's disjointed and then not really getting that ideal outcome that you want, if that makes
And
sense.
no, it makes complete sense. And let's talk last thing is why, as a consultant, why do you recommend always Pronex for them? What's the big reason? What's that game changer?
It's really the one-stop shop. There are other software systems out there that are built on other people's platforms, and they may just do the tracking, or they may just do the electronic record, or they may just do the ability to track and order your medications. Or if you're doing retail sales, they only have one aspect of it. So you end up with all these different layered aspects in your practice. This is everything in one place, and it just simplifies everything. And so for me, that's a big part of it. The other aspect of our team at Pronex is that we have expertise in not only when you have a change that you want in your application, the developer is he's on the call with us. When you have a business issue that you want to talk about, I come in as a business consultant in terms of how to increase your number of leads or how to increase, the conversion from intake to surgery or intake to becoming a patient. And we have someone who specializes in lifestyle. We have all those people kind of right there on our team. So no matter what's coming up in terms of your challenge, we'd love to work together to help you overcome that challenge. So
All right. Well, Carol, thanks again. This is great information, and the best place people can find information on Pronex, where can they go?
Pronexinc.com, Pronexinc.com is the best place. You'll see a little category there for surgeons, physicians, and lifestyle medicine professionals. And you just click there, and we'd love to have a call with anyone who's interested in exploring it further. It's just a conversation, but it's worth looking into.
Thanks again, Carol. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
All
my
right.
pleasure. Thanks again for having me on.
You're welcome. That was special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show and the Pronex podcast.